Behind the Rhetoric, a podcast where we explore the traditions of language, the arts of persuasion, and how rhetoric shapes not just what we believe, but what we accept as real. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Behind the Rhetoric. We are your host. I am Brian Soto.
I'm Leah McCullough.
I'm Angelina Schreier.
Last episode, we talked about rhetoric and demagoguery, what they mean, how they affect our lives, and the power they have over what we believe in. An important thing for the audience that I thought was very important for us during our course was talking about citizenship. We'll explain what citizenship looks like or what it means to us, but just want to make it clear to the audience that citizenship is really important because it gives you a much more grounded sense of your individual identity. And I think identity is really important when talking about how to analyze rhetoric, when to know something is demagogic, and how to resolve it.
One thing we've learned in this class is how demagoguery really relies on pigeonholing ourselves to labels. So it relies on that polarization, right? And those polarizations are usually identity-based in some way. So people will adopt these very definite identities, and then they're scared to step outside of what has been defined as what is acceptable within that identity or ideology or people group. That's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about.
So citizenship, the audience may be wondering what citizenship means. Citizenship really can mean anything to the individual. It's really an open debate now what it means. I think a lot of people are more familiar with a universal idea of citizenship, which is the idea that we're all one people, we're all one race. Yeah, we have differences that are very real and very reasonable to have, whether it be because of culture, religion, politics, but ultimately we're all the same people and we should all work together. And again, this is relevant to demagoguery because it's this idea of citizenship that we all have as individual that I think drives us to the different labels that we seek out. Labels are not our identity. Labels and groups, these are all things created in order for humans to find a connection to one another. As we've seen, even inside these labels, inside these groups, there are differences among people. And among these groups, there are fights with each others.
I'm going to use the example of something I heard about after the Artemis splashdown. One thing about demagoguery is it operates in a timely fashion. So whatever's happening in the current time, it's going to mold to respond and make sure everybody stays in their identities. And so we had a splashdown of Artemis, which was a really big deal, sending our astronauts around the moon and back. And one thing that I read the day that it was happening was a quote from, actually, of all places, William Shatner's memoir. But I know, let's all take a laugh, because apparently I didn't realize this, but he went into space. I'm so out of clue, and then came back. So William Shatner quoted in his memoir, author Frank White, as discussing an effect that happens to astronauts when they go into space, and it's called the overview effect. And what it means essentially is they're up there, they finally made it to space, this thing that they have like planned for, right? The education, all of the experience, and they get up there and they're like, I want to go back down there. I want to be a part of that. I don't want to be up here. It's cold, it's quiet, it's it's not terra firma, But what they also notice is they feel that collective citizenship. It's all one. It's not just the humans, it's the plants, it's the animals, it's the ocean, it's everything. And that overview effect, when we think about that concept, it helps us to see our fellow individuals that we might be having a challenge with, and we realize, wait, we're all citizens of this place. And when we have that view, demagoguery, the air just kind of goes out of it. It's really hard to maintain polarization when we realize we're kind of all in this together.
That brings up something that we have talked about a lot in this class, and that would be empathy. empathy really is the enemy to demagoguery, since, like Leah said, when you start to see the people that you're in conversation with, or the people that maybe you hold opinions about that aren't even present in your life, but might be a topic, a group of people that is being brought up in conversation about politics, for example, when you start to see those people as not too different from you and as human just like you, empathy helps to dissipate the demagoguery and the polarization. That brings up a quote that Jackie Alexander wrote saying, "Remembering does not entail obsessing over the past as much as daring to recognize each other again and again in a context that seems bent on making strangers of us all."
I think that this is also, a thing that maybe confuses the audience, because the answer is so simple: empathy. Just treat others how you would want to be treated. But the reality is that it's really hard to forgive each other, because throughout human history, there has been real damage because of demagoguery.
Yeah, we can only operate in now. We can take accountability for our versions of demagoguery. And that looks like, you know, being empathetic to what that person said, but also realizing the moment I said it, just by the look on their face, as humans, we're really good at reading each other's facial expressions. You can tell when you've said something that has either hurt them or made them think or, whatever. That's where we
Love
have
pineapple on pizza. You look around the room. Definitely.
So no pineapple on pizza, huh?
In my case, at least in my group, in my in group.
Yes, there we
You're
go.
in group.
See, that's a great example of demagoguery in an in-group because, everybody has to constantly conform. And when the person in the in-group is not conforming, the rest have to go, okay, wait, hold on, and call that out. Who ordered pineapple on the pizza? This is unacceptable. So you have a choice. Either you don't do it anymore or you're not part of this in-group.
And that actually brings up a great concept that you brought in, Leah, in our conversation, is that we've all been victims of that. We've all been victims of being part of a group or being part of something and then having an opinion or having a moment. And that totally changes the dynamic of how people relate to you in your in-group. And this creates a sense of homelessness, this homelessness that is the exact victim that demagoguery seeks.
I think that is what perpetuates demagoguery because you've estranged someone. So now they have to find an identity. They have to find a label, or they create it themselves, if they're capable of making such a big move, which some people are. Celebrities are notorious for that, right? So they use their platform and they create a new narrative.
And YouTube is like a great sort of showcase of how that environment happens and how it can happen on a big scale. Again, back to Ben Shapiro and other people like him, they use shorts to highlight a polarizing topic that reduces people in binary terms. And then you have two groups of people. You have people that agree with it, the people that are he's kind of dog whistling to. And then you have the people that don't agree with them that get mad. And then they go into his long form content. And now Ben Shapiro is making money off of everybody. This term, hapticality, which describes a manner of feeling at home with the homeless, ease with the fugitive, and at peace with the pursued. And this is just a really eloquent way of basically saying that, of our way of arguing, rather, why we should have empathy is that we want to create a home for those that feel left out. Going back to citizenship, I presented a concept of citizenship, which is an international or universal definition of citizenship. We're all one people. The reality is not everybody shares that universal definition of citizenship.
That's such a great point to bring up in regards to citizens, because I think, like we've talked about in our conversations, really don't know what people, like what different perspectives and different people can bring to your life until you allow them into your life. And I think this is true with lots of things, even outside of citizenship. We resist change and resist things that are different because it feels like a threat to our identity. And we're absolutely not here to tell you that you have to homogenize with everyone else in the world. That's not it, because your uniqueness is what makes this world so wonderful. And when we can kind of not homogenize our uniqueness, but have them side by side, it creates a world that has a lot more opportunity for action and happiness and all of those other things that I think everyone would like to see more of.